He'd like to have the morning paper crossword solved. Woo-hoo-hoo. Words go up, words come down, forwards, backwards, twisted round. Aha. Why have we not done a video on Aha yet? It's an interesting question. A lot of people have asked me that, and Aha is actually one of my favorite pop groups of all times, and I thought, let's talk about it. Now, this video is not going to be a in-depth video. As you know, on this channel, we will usually choose a subject, whether it be a song or a person within a band, and we will talk in detail regarding that subject. This video is just going to be a general discussion on Aha, because as you know, it's my first video and there's a lot we can talk about. So the idea of this is just, I want to just talk about Aha, what I feel about the band, run through some of the songs briefly, and then at the end, I'm going to invite you to leave your comments in the description below. And from your comments, I can gauge what you guys want me to elaborate on, whether it be songs, albums, etc. But as I say, this is going to be just a general scratch the surface introductory video about Aha. Now, Aha is one of the bands I've kind of lost focus of over the past several years. And to sort of brush up on my memory for this video, I did listen to an album I have, which is the Headlines and Deadlines of Aha. And that was released in 1991, and it really was sort of like their greatest hits, sort of from 84 to 91, sort of starting off with Take On Me, right up until Move to Memphis, which was kind of, what was that, sort of 1990, 91. But when I listened to the Headlines and Deadlines of Aha, as I say, I haven't listened to it in many years, and it's funny when you listen to things as you get older, there's not only the nostalgia element, but you also, as I've improved and progressed as a musician and producer, I can hear it in a different way, and I just gained a greater love for it, because I understand what technology was available at that time compared to what technology is available now. Now, we don't want to turn this video into a discussion about music production, although we do scratch the surface. But I've often talked about, it's funny that even though we have such high-tech music production equipment available these days, it's not only a lot cheaper and a lot more accessible, but you sometimes listen back to the records of that period, and very often they are sonically and musically superior to a lot of music these days. It's debatable, and not all of them are. It is just looking back at the record Take On Me, the first one they did, and from the opening of that track, and indeed when you listen to the whole Headlines and Deadlines greatest hits album of Aha, you just hear the quality of the production. But it's not only the quality of the production. Guys, I'm always on about the songwriting, and the song being the core and the key element to the success of any band. And I always talk about the production and the delivery and the photographs and the art and all that. Those are just ingredients, whereas the songs are the most important thing. And Aha had the songs. They definitely do have the songs. Obviously, we talk about Depeche Mode a lot on this channel, and we've been talking about them a lot. And it's nice when we look at Aha's music. Obviously, I don't want to compare bands because they're completely different. But if we were to say compare Aha to Depeche Mode, Depeche Mode is a very sort of innovative sex, drugs, domination, some people call depressing type music. And Depeche Mode obviously really pushed the innovation thing and still do. Whereas Aha, the emphasis is not so much on the innovation, and that's not to say that the music was not slick and polished and well produced. But I think I get the idea that when Aha produce a song, it's almost as if they go, okay, this is the melody, this is the song, the emotion's all there. How can we present this in the best way we can? Whereas I feel Depeche Mode would ask the same questions. Here's the song, here's the melody. but I think with a band like Depeche Mode would be like, now how can we present this in a way that's really cutting edge and no one's heard before? And you know, with bands like Depeche Mode, I feel there's that desire even now to sort of push that envelope and present a song in the way that no one's ever heard before. Whereas I feel that Aha, that is not as important. I feel that Aha will it's more important that they get the song out and the song is expressed in the best way that they possibly can, and not necessarily pushing the frontiers of production and technology and stuff. Now, that is not to say that their music is not very advanced and modern sounding. I don't want to be misunderstood here, but I do think that sometimes bands like Depeche Mode, they can sometimes they can put so much emphasis onto the the technology that it can sometimes dilute the message in the song. Whereas I don't see that with Aha, because the emphasis is really on just presenting the song in the best way that they can, albeit a conventional type approach. I feel that they tend to keep the audience on board, and that is why I think bands like Aha would have a lot more of a mainstream appeal as opposed to someone like Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode had this thing of never using presets and creating every sound from scratch, whereas I feel like a band like Aha, that wouldn't be as important if they turned on a keyboard and they found a preset that they'd like. That's not to say they would use it, but they would be more likely to use a preset sound than a band like Depeche Mode would, because for Aha, it's more about the expression of the song and not so much about the pushing the envelope of sound. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say there, but this is the way I understand Aha. And of course, not comparing apples and pears, and as I say, comparing Depeche Mode to Aha is an unfair comparison. I do love both bands incredibly, but in different ways. But Aha's music to me is very, very emotional. And I was just listening to, oh my God, songs like Hunting High and Low, Stay on These Roads, and their cover of I'll never let you see the way my broken heart is hurting me. The emotion they put into their songs, and they really have this they've always had like a really filmic kind of epic sound. And Morten's voice is one of the most stunning, absolutely stunning male pop voices I have ever heard. And I'm actually getting gooseflesh as I say that now, because once again, there are so many aspects and there are so many ingredients and moving parts and reasons as to why a band can be successful or not. And sometimes the line between success and failure is very fine. But Aha did click all the boxes, and just off the top of my head, what are the reasons that Aha was successful and still are? And indeed, why are they still so popular? I mean, they're still going. And one thing that's great about Aha is, if you look at their live performances, I don't want to compare it to, and I'm not going to mention any names, but if you listen to Morten's voice, he can still sing. He can still hit the notes like, take on me, and in a day. He can hit all those notes that he could do in the 80s. And it seems as though the aging process hasn't affected him. He just doesn't seem to age. He's a very, very handsome man. And I think Morten Harket's one of those guys, you just look at him and you go, man, I'd love to be you. He's just that kind of guy. Why would you not want to be Morten Harket? He's incredibly talented. He's very handsome. He sings like an angel. Why would you not want to be him? I remember seeing in a documentary once when, and I can't remember the source, but I remember the person that was talking about when Aha first came onto the scene. This guy said, "You've got to hear this guy's voice. He looks like." He looks like a Greek god, or he looks like what this guy was trying to say was about Morten. Morten was incredibly handsome, but he had the voice of Roy Orbison. And I found that interesting. But if you listen to Roy Orbison's voice and you listen to Aha, Morten Harket, you can hear the kind of similarities in Morten's voice. Now, I think while we're on the subject of Morten's voice, let me quickly go into Morten's voice and, you know, how he uses his voice. Morten's voice is very dynamic. It's very easy. He sings with ease. There's just no strain, or it's effortless. His voice soars, and he can sing really low, and he can sing really, really high. And the transitions from his, you know, from his the lowest notes to the highest notes, you know, sort of from his chest voice right through to his head voice, and indeed to his falsetto, are effortless. And Morten is a very natural, a very gifted singer, and his voice is very, very soothing. And he does have this little, it's like a little, like slight whistle on his S, which I can't demonstrate, but if you listen to his songs, he's got this little on the S, which works really, really well. You know, you sometimes listen to it as a producer and you go, oh, did that whistle just pass through the de-esser? But anyway, that's not a flaw within his voice. It's just a unique character within his voice, and I can't criticize Morten's voice. I can't criticize this band really. As I said, they don't seem to age, and I think a lot of that is down to, I believe, the band, and especially Morten, is very clean living. I don't believe he's ever, you know, I don't really think they were really into drugs and things like that. And they certainly were, in my opinion, a very clean living band. You know, you never heard any scandal about them. And this is what I like about them. I sometimes get annoyed with certain artists, and I've got no right to say this, but some people, they get this great opportunity to tour the world and be successful, and then they go and fuck it up with drugs and alcohol and whatnot. And I don't know, and I don't want to get into that. But I just love the way that I just get the feeling that a-ha kind of appreciated what they got, and they just said, okay, we've got this great opportunity and we're not going to fuck it up and, you know, die from overdoses and stuff. And yeah, some could argue they're a bit squeaky clean and goody, but it is that clean living lifestyle which has given them this longevity. And as I say, you can watch them live now. And there are a lot of bands that started out at that time, and when you see those bands live now, you're just like, oh God, I think it's time to stop. Whereas with a-ha, you know, there's a lot of fuel left in the tank. They have such energy and vitality, and, you know, the songs haven't dried up. Just sort of I'll run through the discography in a moment. They have not run out of ideas. Their sound has remained the same throughout the years. You know, as I said, they haven't really pushed the envelopes of music production and tried to go down a very avant-garde route. It's just a-ha is all about the songs. It's all about the songs and presenting them in the best and most emotional way possible. And my God, this band is exceptional in every level. And they looked great, sound great. I remember in school, the girls were besotted by them. They're a great looking band and really great, decent human beings as well in real life. I know a friend of mine, who became a friend of mine, a guy called Ollie Hammett, who was working for producer Mark Saunders, and they actually produced the Foot of the Mountain album. And I'm hoping to get an interview with them regarding the production of that album, because I think that'll be a very interesting video. But as you can see, I'm all over the place because this video isn't really focused on one particular avenue regarding a-ha. It's just a general chat about a-ha. And the way I'm talking about a-ha now, I was worried I wouldn't have enough to say, but I'm very, very passionate and very enthusiastic about this band. Just looking at their discography quickly. 1985, they released their debut album, Hunting High and Low. And my God, what a debut album. I mean, this is probably one of the best debut albums since Alphaville's debut album. An incredible debut album. 86, they went on to release Scoundrel Days. 88, it was East of the Sun, West of the Moon. I remember that. 1993 was Memorial Beach. 2000, Minor Earth, Major Sky. 2002, Lifelines. Analog was 2005. Foot of the Mountain, 2009. Cast in Steel in 2015. As I say, I would like to interview Mark Saunders and Ollie Hammett, who, Ollie Hammett, my friend, who worked for Mark Saunders when they produced The Foot of the Mountain, because that was a great sort of, to me, that was kind of like a comeback album, but it's not like they'd went away, but they had taken like a, if I look at earlier on, the albums were quite frequent, but sort of later on they seemed to have longer breaks, and that's obviously as they got older, families and other commitments. But as I say, I have sort of lost touch with the more recent stuff, although I have sort of delved into them over the years, now and then, and I am familiar with their sort of like singles over the past 15 or 20 years or so. But the stuff that's really sort of embedded into my mind is the sort of all the greatest hits from the sort of 84 to 91 period, all the songs from the Headlines and Deadlines album. The story of a-ha's success is not only very romantic, fascinating, but it is the story of victory, how these three unknown young men came from Norway in 1982 because the calling was London's the place we need to be. And they just knew they were going to make it, and they did. And how I was watching a documentary, how Mags, by the way, I call them Pell, Mags, and Mort, just for ease of pronunciation. Mags was talking about how they, when they first came to London, they lived in Notting Hill. And he showed us on this documentary around the area where they stayed. And it wasn't until they met John Ratcliffe, who sort of took them under his wing and became like their manager, that things really start to look up for them. And if you take the three members of a-ha, they were so talented, everything was there, the looks, everything. It was only a matter of time before you could, before they would reach the top, as the saying goes, cream always floats to the top. Success would never have been denied to, people that talented and that good looking. They just ticked every single box. The name a-ha was always a funny, a strange choice of a name to me, but Morten talks how they wanted a name that was very universal and international, a name that everyone could say. And I think a lot of bands don't consider that. I mean, anyone can say a-ha, a-ha. And I believe the name a-ha came from when Morten and them were looking for a name, and they found the name a-ha. A-ha was the name of a song in one of Powell's songbooks. Apparently it was a dreadful song, but a-ha was a good name. And the name a-ha now is synonymous with a great band and great music. So they've coined the name, they've coined the phrase. And it's a great name because, as I say, anyone can say a-ha. Can you say a-ha? A-ha. a-ha have a huge catalogue, great songs. This is one of the few bands where I would pretty much love every song on the album. There's not many bands I could say that about, not even my favourite Depeche Mode. Great, timeless songwriting. And I'm just going to illustrate quickly some of the songs. As I say, there's far too many to go through. But some of my very, very favourite ones, I'm thinking of Manhattan Skyline. We sit and watch umbrellas fly. I'm trying to keep my newspaper dry. I hear myself saying, my boat's leaving now, so we shake hands and cry. These songs can bring you to tears. They are so beautiful. As I said, when I was listening to this record yesterday, I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And I'm often on about this, how you get so many, and of course, I can't hear all the music. There's just too much music to get through these days. But it just seems as though with a lot of music these days, not all of it, a lot of it, there is so much emphasis on the production and not as much emphasis on the soul and the music and the emotion. And my God, this music, I'm thinking of Stay on These Roads. I mean, listen to this. has a voice. I listened to this yesterday and it brought me to tears. It wasn't only bringing back great memories, but I was just like, God, feel that emotion. I mean, geez, I mean, wow. We have opened a Pandora's box with a-ha, and I'm happy to tell you we are going to delve deeply into this band, and with a few album reviews and hopefully some interviews too. I don't know how I've managed to sort of lose sight of them over the last few years, but man, this is an outstanding band. I'm thinking another song I loved of theirs was the cover they did, Crying in the Rain. I'll never let you see the way my broken heart is hurting me. I've got my pride and I know how to hide all my sorrow and pain. I'll do my crying in the rain. And then when it gets to the this part, it's raindrops falling from heaven could never take away my misery. Since we're not together, I pray for stormy weather to hide these tears I hope you'll never see. And I think we'll just cap it there, because if I get into these songs, this is going to be a very, very long video. So, as you can see, I'm very, very enthusiastic about this. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. a-ha. It's like a eureka moment. a-ha. What a band. What a band. And I think I don't know why I've kind of lost touch with the band, or sort of, I've always liked them, but I think at some point it was kind of like, maybe I thought it wasn't cool enough to listen to them. Maybe I wanted to listen to things that were more innovative and stuff. But I'm at an age now where I don't give a fuck. When I like something, I like it. And I fucking love this band. Right, my friends. As you can see, I'm very excited about this. There is so much we can talk about. This is your chance to leave your comments in the description below. Now, hopefully this video has brought new people to the channel because it's a new subject. And if this is your first time to this channel, I'm hoping you will click the subscribe button, click the like button, and I'm welcoming you with open arms into this very positive, wonderful community, if I do say so myself. So please leave your comments below. Let me know what you think of a-ha. Anything you want to say about a-ha. And also let me know what you would like me to elaborate on future videos, because as I say, we could only scratch the surface, but I do want to do a lot more videos on a-ha, and possibly also album reviews. And yeah, let me know what you want to hear. Thank you so much, as always, for those of you who are supporting me since the beginning, and to those of you who have just joined. I hope you will stay with us. Guys, take care of yourselves. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next video. a-ha!